The date is 2026-06-08. This is the executive lens. The biggest story today is the renewed Israel-Iran exchange of missile fire, with both sides signaling the conflict could widen again, despite earlier ceasefire efforts. According to CNN's live updates, Iran halted strikes on Israel but issued a warning tied to Lebanon, while a U.S. official told CNN that President Donald Trump had urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to retaliate. NPR reported that Israel and Iran exchanged missile fire on the 100th day of the war that began on February 28th, marking a major escalation in a conflict that has already outlasted early expectations. Al Jazeera reported that talks and attacks have continued for months and could last much longer without a breakthrough. Sky News said Trump had predicted the war would be over in 6 weeks, but 100 days in, strikes continue, despite a ceasefire, and the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. The common thread across those reports is that neither military pressure nor diplomacy has yet produced a durable off-ramp.
The strategic risk is not just the direct Israel-Iran exchange. NPR said the latest fighting threatens to drag the region back toward full-scale war, and The Hindu reported that Iran ended military operations against Israel while warning of harsher attacks if strikes on Lebanon persist. That puts Lebanon into the center of a wider deterrence contest, with each side trying to shape the next move without triggering a broader regional collapse. On government actions, the White House and federal agencies also moved on domestic policy. The administration issued a policy titled Realigning United States Core Childhood Vaccine Recommendations with Best Practices from Peer-Developed Countries, signaling a review of federal vaccine guidance. Separately, the government announced further adjusting the tariff regimes for imports of aluminum, steel, and copper into the United States, a trade action that could affect industrial input costs and supply chain.
Here's the story most people missed. The New York Times reported that Trump abruptly ended a contentious NBC Meet the Press interview after being challenged on his election rigging claims. NBC's Kristen Welker pressed him on his allegation that the California gubernatorial race was rigged, and Trump walked out. The significance is not the exchange itself, but the way it reinforces how election claims remain central to Trump's public messaging and how quickly he's willing to break off when pressed for evidence. What to watch today? First, whether Israel responds to Iran's latest halt and strikes or treats it as a temporary pause. Second, whether the United States issues any new public guidance on de-escalation through the State Department or Pentagon. Third, whether Lebanon becomes the next pressure point in the conflict, as warned by The Hindu and referenced in CNN's live coverage. That is the executive lens for 2026-06-08. Sources and the episode notes back tomorrow.